The Toronto Blue Jays are quickly getting back in shape. The team arrived in the city on the weekend to begin training camp, but it will be a short stint. The season kicks off in 2 weeks. Well, to talk more now about the return of Major League Baseball, we have Blue Jays broadcaster Mike Wilner joining us from Mississauga. Thanks so much for joining us this morning. That's just seeing your face is another sign that baseball is almost back. It's been so long since we've had organized sports. What will this mean for the fans and for people and maybe for the players' spirits too?
Yeah, I think it'll be a good thing to get sports back. Soccer is trying, basketball and hockey are working on it too, and baseball is having their summer camp right now. It's not like a return to normalcy or anything like that because nothing is still normal. But it's just nice to have them back. It's a little distraction. It's something that people have missed. It'll give more people a reason to stay home, to watch the games on TV, listen on the radio in the backyard while you're barbecuing, and it'll be, just another little piece of, hey, this is something that we haven't had for a long time that we have back now.
Now, the Jays who are now back in Toronto and training at the Rogers Centre, we haven't seen or heard a whole lot of what that has been like since they got back on Monday. But what do you know in terms of how that is happening? And all the players have been isolated for so long. It must be very strange to be back together.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. And they're still, theoretically isolated at Rogers Centre. They went straight from the airport to the ballpark. They're all staying at the hotel where they're, quarantined within the footprint of Rogers Centre. Nobody's allowed to leave, and they're only allowed to go from their room to the field and back and forth. We have seen some pictures. The Blue Jays have tweeted some video the last couple of days of the workouts, and it's nice to hear the sound of the crack of the bat again. We've seen Hyun-Jin Ryu throw some live batting practice. We've seen Vlad Guerrero Jr. take some swings and a few other things. Tonight, there will be an inter-squad game. It'll be the first one. And for the first time, the media will be allowed in the ballpark. So starting today, we'll see a ramp up of a lot of the coverage, and we'll get to see a lot more and start to feel that whole spring training-ish vibe again. But we do know that they have 46 players here, about 12 still in Florida waiting to come up, and they've got 2 weeks to get ready because opening day is 2 weeks away.
And, well, you mentioned some of those are still in Florida, where a state where, of course, we're seeing COVID-19 cases spiking. What have we seen so far with COVID tests and the Blue Jays, and what is the expectation going forward? I know they're being tested regularly.
Yeah, they have to have 2 negative tests before they can come into Canada, which is wonderful, which is the same way that Major League Baseball is working for all its players. There have been some issues with the testing, especially on the 4th of July weekend in the States. A few teams had some testers not show up or some tests not come back quickly enough, and a couple of teams had to cancel practice, but that hasn't happened with the Blue Jays. The 46 people who are here have all tested negative twice. The 12 who are still in Florida are there because we think one of them, we don't know who, tested positive, and the others were in contact with them. So they have to wait and stay until they have their 2 negative tests. But once everything starts, it's going to be testing every 2 days, antibody test once a week, and they're going to really, really do their best to make sure that it's as safe an environment as possible. And the ones who are still in Florida, you would hope, are isolating right now and checking, making sure, monitoring for any sort of change in symptoms, and getting their tests every other day until they get 2 negatives. And they may all but the one, and the one person who had symptoms may not even have tested positive. But this is the way that they're choosing to really, really use an abundance of caution before they get anything started with anyone who's shown even the slightest symptom.
You mentioned the fact that they're in their own quarantine bubble, in essence, that they were given a special exemption to be able to go to the practice. But as you say, the hotel attached to the Rogers Centre. But it has been a little bit controversial. And we still don't know yet, do we, if the Blue Jays will be able to play their home games at the Rogers Centre where they would like to be, because they are not here to stay. They'll be going back and forth to the U.S.
Yeah, and not just them, obviously. They'll be going back and forth to the U.S., and teams that are based in the U.S. will be coming in theory. If the government allows the Blue Jays to play their games at home, the Jays will be here for a week, gone for a week, here for a week, gone for a week, and 9 other major league teams that are spending the vast majority of their time in the United States, and 2 of them from Florida, which is one of the big hot spots, obviously, if not the biggest hot spot in the world right now, will be coming in as well. And that's the decision that has to be made. Is the government willing to, I was going to say waive the quarantine, but waive isn't the right word, modify the quarantine for all these other groups that are coming in from the United States. So the truth is, a doctor suggested the other day that it's as though, you think of Rogers Centre as a big house with a huge backyard, then you're effectively quarantining in that house. And if everyone's testing negative all the time, then it really does seem like it's far less danger than just having travelers come in, crossing the border, and then trusting that they'll isolate for 14 days. But it's definitely controversial, and we don't know yet what the final decision is. And they've got 2.5 weeks to make that decision, because the Blue Jays' first 5 games of the season, starting on July 24th, are on the road. So they aren't scheduled to play at home until the 29th. Such
a tight schedule and just a 60-game season. And when we look ahead to the games actually getting underway, how strange is this going to be for the players, especially, I'm guessing, without the roar of the crowd in the stadium?
Yeah, for all of us, it's going to be super weird. I've covered the Blue Jays during a lot of dark times on the field when there were only 9 or 10, 11,000 people in the stadium, and it felt empty. And now there's going to be none. The only people who will be in the stands will be the players who aren't playing. Because, in order to spread out and socially distance, they'll be in the seats as opposed to in the dugout. It's going to be really weird. It's going to be weird for everyone. It's going to be weird for the players, for those of us broadcasting, for people listening, waiting for any sort of crowd reaction to anything. It's going to be really, really strange. But better that than not to have it at all.
Well, we look forward to chatting with you again as it all gets underway. Thanks so much for your time today. It's always great chatting with you, Mike.
Thanks for having me.
Blue Jays broadcaster Mike Wilner joining us in Mississauga.